Dan Kurtz asks, let's see here. This is a long one. Let's see. What would be the best way to fully automate your pay-per-lead business or your pay-per-call business if you were a one-man show? So from prospecting to the sales conversation to the build out and fulfillment, and then the incremental upkeep for the entire system. He says, I have some ideas to make it a reality, but I'd really like your spin on it. So yeah, let's jump in. And guys, for those of you that don't have a pay-per-lead business, if you have any other type of business, most of this stuff is very, very applicable as well for your business, whether you're a more traditional agency offering SEO or AdWords service or Google Ads now it's called, or you don't do any marketing services, but you provide some type of B2B service. This is definitely very applicable for you as well. So what you want to do is obviously eliminate the bottlenecks. And I just wrote down some of the big bottlenecks that I faced and how I got past them in our very own pay-per-lead business. So in terms of sales, I would set up an evergreen cold email sequence that pushes people to a calendar to book a meeting with me, right? First and foremost, if I was time constricted, that would be the number one thing that I focus on. Okay. The reason I say that I word this the way that I do is very important though. Evergreen cold email sequence. Okay, so what I mean by that is you're not using like Gmass or any of the other free plugins and every day having to send out emails using that plugin and then follow up 2 days later using that plugin and then 3 days later if they still don't respond, follow up again, right? Like that's just not gonna work. You're gonna forget, you're not gonna be able to keep track. It's just gonna get dropped. And so the reason that I say evergreen is that's how we build our sequences, right? They're evergreen, meaning I add a lead to our system, they're automatically going to get an email day 1, day 4, and day 7, right? Trying to get them to book into my calendar with me. Okay, if they don't respond from there, they're going to then go on a long-term follow-up sequence where I'm hitting them every 7 to 14 days instead of every 3 to 4 days. Okay, and whenever that person opts in to the calendar and says, yes, Joe, I want to meet with you, they book their appointment, they book their time, they're automatically going to be yanked from those sequences. So I don't look like an idiot trying to get them to book an appointment with me, and they already have. Okay, so that's a very important distinction. A lot of people try cold email. Joe, I've tried cold email. And when I really talk to them, that's what they've done is they've just taken a bunch of leads that they got one time. They've sent out an email blast to 100 or 200 contacts. Nothing came back besides a couple fuck yous, and they stopped it. Guys, that's no way to build a business, right? Got to set up a system. You got to work on the system, right? If your messaging isn't working, then your messaging sucks, right? You got to work on making the messaging better. Have a better offer, a more convincing offer, right? Personalize it. All right, I think I concentrated on that one just enough. All right, so under sales then, the other thing, a big hiccup that I see, and people just fall face first on this one all the time. I've helped so many people at our live workshops and live events literally close deals while they're here, and then they go to actually get the customer to sign the contract and they don't have it ready. And it's like, oh, I got to go map all these fields and I got to go fill in the lead price and I got to do this, I got to do that before I can even send the contract to the proposal or to the prospect, right? And all the while, you just told the prospect 10 minutes ago that you were going to send it all over, like right away, right? Now you're like freaking out, you're sweating bullets. Don't be doing that, right? You should be using a system where you can have your contract all set up, ready to go. Any of the information that you need to set up with your, or that you need to input into that contract should be as easy as you filling out a form with 3 or 4 pieces of information and hitting go, and then it gets sent to your prospect. Okay, so have your contracts all ready to go. So all that you got to do is add the prospect's email and 1 or 2 other pieces of information. Okay, don't let that rely on you going and doing something immediately. Trust me, this sucks. It's horrible. Okay, once you grow past this, right? Once you grow past just cold email, right? You got your contracts ready to go. You're trying to grow past just cold email. What do you do then? Okay, Then I would work on having a sales team book appointments on my behalf through my calendar, right? And then I'd follow the same exact sales process that I've been following, right, for however long this took, right? But this is exactly what we've done inside of our pay-per-lead business. Next up is onboarding, okay? So we found that onboarding, most of you guys aren't even doing onboarding. Can I get a 1 if you're not really doing onboarding? A customer signs up and they're like, so how's this work? And you're like, great question. So I'm going to get started. And in 2 or 3 weeks, probably we're going to have a phone call and I'll keep you updated with my progress. How many of you guys' onboarding sounds similar to that, or maybe not even quite that good? Yeah. So what I would do if I were you is just, once you start getting the sales flow down, and then I would focus on onboarding. And the simplest way to do it, folks, is just to run a weekly webinar. It's like every Wednesday, I'm going to walk you through the platform. I'm going to show you how this works. I'm going to, answer all your questions. Guys, you can record that literally one time, right? And then replay it like it's live every single week on Thursdays, right? Or whatever day you want to do it. And then have one of your team members answer the questions. I suggest that you start it, you run the webinar, you get all the questions, right? You figure out how to ace those questions and answer them really, really well. Make the customers happy, make them excited for the future, right? Solve any questions or issues that they have, and then hand that off to a VA. So, or some other team member in your business. So as the business owner, I believe that you should be very project focused, right? You should be jumping in to swoop in to make a new sales process. You get it to work, you vet it, you create the system, you create the process, and then you jump into the onboarding process. Again, you get to be the hero, right? You get to be the face, you get to do your thing, you get to figure it all out, which is what we as entrepreneurs are really good at. Doing the day-to-day shit, we're not so great at. We're just not, right? But running a new project, that's fun, that's exciting, right? Get in, figure it out, and then get it off of your plate and go on to the next thing. Last but not least is billing. So 3 quick tips for billings. First and foremost, whether a call is qualified in a pay-per-lead business, we listen to all calls in order to understand if a call is qualified. So that's a task from the very start that if I were you, I wouldn't touch. It's just monotonous work that frankly you should be outsourcing, and it is a super easy task to outsource. And if you think about it, really you're only going to be paying somebody if there's calls for them to actually listen to and then tell you if they're qualified or not qualified, right? Meaning if they're billable or they're not. So you're only going to have to pay for this when you're making money, i.e. when you're generating phone calls. So it's a pretty controlled expense as well. So even from the get-go, from the very start of a pay-per-lead business, I would definitely have this hired out, okay? Next up is always get a prepayment, okay? We work on retainer, okay? Or we get paid in advance in everything that we do, okay? You don't pay me for next month, I'm not starting next month's work, right? Always, always, always as well, have a credit card on file. So when they sign my agreement, when my clients sign my agreement, they also sign a credit card authorization form that says that I can charge them on the X day of every month for their amount, right? Whatever their plan is for. Okay, always have a credit card on file, okay? Folks, at the end of the day, I spent a lot of time spinning my wheels trying to collect money when I first started building my agency. Even to the point where we were doing over $50,000 a month in our agency, and I was still spinning my wheels, and I basically created a full-time job for myself just collecting the revenue every month. And trust me when I say it was a big pain in the ass, all right? So these are the big, big things that I would focus on to automate and to get out of the way, to systematize so that you don't get hung up growing your pay-per-lead business or any other real type of business.